You're preparing for potential emergencies is a prudent endeavor that can help ensure your safety and the well-being of your loved ones. However, it's important to consider the extent of government intervention during such crises, particularly the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, and its extensive powers granted through various executive orders. While your preparedness efforts are commendable, it's essential to be aware of the implications of FEMA's authority to confiscate certain critical resources during emergencies. This understanding can help you better navigate the complex landscape of emergency preparedness. In the United States, FEMA plays a crucial role in coordinating disaster response and recovery. Established by President Carter in 1979 through Executive Order 12,148, FEMA's mandate includes working with state and local governments as well as the private sector to ensure a comprehensive approach to emergency preparedness and response. However, the agency's powers extend far beyond coordination, encompassing the authority to seize essential resources during national crises. It's important to recognize that over the years, various executive orders have expanded FEMA's control in emergencies. Executive Order 10,998, signed by President Kennedy, outlines measures related to food resources and farm equipment. This order defines what constitutes food items, animal feed, agricultural products, and farm equipment, and also details the facilities involved in their production, processing, distribution, and storage. The objective here is to ensure a steady supply and prevent any disruption that could exacerbate the crisis. Similarly, Executive Order 10,995 grants FEMA control over all communications and media during emergencies, a critical measure to ensure coordinated response and information dissemination. Effective communication during a crisis is paramount, and centralizing it under FEMA's control aims to prevent misinformation and maintain public order. In the realm of energy resources, Executive Order 10,997 allows FEMA to take control of fuel and power resources, ensuring their allocation and distribution are managed to support emergency operations and essential needs. These executive orders collectively highlight FEMA's broad authority, underscoring the potential for resource seizure during emergencies. While these measures aim to maintain public safety and order, they also raise concerns among preppers and individuals focused on self-reliance. Knowing what FEMA is likely to target can inform your preparedness strategies and help you better safeguard your assets. With this understanding, let's delve into 7 critical items FEMA is most likely to seize during a crisis. 1. Fuel. During a crisis, one of the most critical resources that FEMA is likely to seize is fuel. In these high-stress situations, fuel availability becomes essential for a multitude of operations, ranging from emergency response to ensuring the functionality of critical infrastructure. The types of fuel seized can include gasoline, diesel, and other fuel types, each serving specific roles vital for disaster response and recovery efforts. Gasoline and diesel, for instance, are crucial for powering emergency vehicles, ambulances, and utility trucks. Other fuel types may be necessary for generators that support hospitals, communication systems, and shelters. Fuel is the lifeblood of crisis situations, enabling the transportation of goods, evacuation of citizens, and operation of critical equipment. Without adequate fuel, emergency response teams face significant challenges in reaching affected areas, conducting rescues, and delivering vital supplies. The importance of fuel extends beyond immediate emergency response. It also plays a role in sustaining longer-term recovery efforts, powering equipment that clears debris, rebuilds infrastructure, and restores essential services. In crisis scenarios, fuel reserves can quickly become depleted due to high demand and disrupted supply chains. As reserves dwindle, the options for affected populations and responders narrow, often limited to either finding additional fuel sources or evacuating to safer areas. This makes the strategic management of fuel reserves a top priority for FEMA and other emergency management agencies. To address these issues, FEMA possessed the authority under various executive orders to requisition private fuel stockpiles. This could include fuel stored by businesses, local governments, and even individuals if deemed necessary for the greater good. The requisition fuel supports a wide array of FEMA's operations. For instance, it ensures that emergency vehicles can continue to traverse the affected areas, delivering immediate aid and coordinating rescue missions. It powers machines and tools required for repairing essential infrastructure such as water treatment plants, power grids, and transportation networks. Moreover, requisition fuel can be allocated to backup generators that maintain the functionality of critical services like hospitals and emergency communication systems. However, the seizure of fuel by FEMA can spark a range of responses from the public, varying from understanding and cooperation to frustration and resistance. Individuals and businesses that have stored emergency fuel reserves typically do so with the intent of securing their own safety and continuity. When these supplies are confiscated, the perceived loss of personal preparedness can create tensions. Nonetheless, the broader perspective remains that such measures are usually taken to ensure the collective welfare and efficient disaster response for the entire community. FEMA strategies for fuel requisition also extend to anticipating future crises. In times of non-emergency, the agency works on establishing protocols and agreements with fuel suppliers and local stakeholders to streamline the process of fuel seizure and distribution during emergencies. This proactive approach helps to mitigate the chaos and inefficiencies that could arise in the immediate aftermath of a disaster. 2. Radios and communication devices. In the throes of a crisis, reliable communication becomes a currency of its own, with radios and other communication devices sitting at the pinnacle of essential resources. FEMA, vested with the authority to commandeer such equipment, prioritizes the confiscation of these devices to ensure an effective coordination network among emergency teams. The primary objective behind this is to maintain a streamlined communication flow pivotal for orchestrating rescue operations, disseminating vital information, and ultimately preserving public order. Among the various communication devices, ham radios and Bafang radios are highly treasured by FEMA due to their reliability and wide operational range. The robustness and versatility of these radios allow them to function under conditions where conventional communication avenues might fail, thus playing an indispensable role during emergencies. However, because of this high value, individuals owning such devices should exercise caution. The presence of a large antenna on a vehicle, for instance, can draw FEMA's attention, potentially leading to the confiscation of the communication device. It becomes imperative, therefore, to strategize the storage and use of these radios in a manner that minimizes the risk of detection. Moreover, the severity and scale of a disaster bear a direct correlation to FEMA's need for additional resources, including communication devices. In large-scale disasters, where local communication infrastructure may be significantly impaired, FEMA's measure to seize communication devices intensifies. This approach ensures that the limited available resources are pooled efficiently to serve the broader community needs. Conversely, in smaller scale disasters, the requisitioning of such devices might be more targeted and selective. For individuals and preppers, understanding the landscape and possible FEMA actions can help mitigate the risk of losing valuable communication tools. Covert use and the careful concealing of ham radios can serve as practical preventive measures. Alongside, considering the acquisition of less conspicuous communication devices might also reduce the likelihood of confiscation. By maintaining a low profile and avoiding actions that could attract FEMA's attention, one can safeguard crucial communication equipment, thereby preserving a critical lifeline in times of crisis. 3. Food. In times of crisis, one of the primary resources that FEMA can seize is food. The need to control and distribute food supplies becomes paramount to prevent widespread hunger and civil unrest. FEMA has the authority to take control of farms and food production facilities. This means that any stored food resources could potentially be requisitioned to ensure equitable distribution among affected populations. For those who have spent years carefully preparing and stockpiling food, the thought of losing these supplies during a critical moment can be particularly distressing. The sudden depletion of valuable resources, especially after so much effort has been invested in preparation, can be a major setback for individuals and families hoping to ride out the crisis on their own terms. Beyond the immediate loss of food supplies, there's also the risk of having provisions taken by others who are unconcerned with your well-being. In desperate times, neighbors or passersby may attempt to take advantage of the situation, further diminishing your food stores. This potential for loss underscores the importance of using multiple hidden storage locations. By diversifying where food is kept, the likelihood of losing all provisions at once is reduced. Hidden caches can serve as insurance against both official seizure and opportunistic theft, helping to ensure that some level of reserves remain intact during a prolonged emergency. Moreover, if you genuinely want to contribute to the collective effort during a crisis while still safeguarding your primary reserves, consider a strategic approach. By relinquishing a portion of your visible food storage to FEMA, you can demonstrate cooperation while simultaneously preserving the majority of your supplies in hidden locations. This tactic allows you to fulfill communal obligations without compromising your long-term survival strategy. By openly offering some provisions, you can potentially avoid heightened scrutiny and suspicion, further protecting your concealed resources. 4. Generators. Generators play a pivotal role during crises by providing power when traditional electrical infrastructure is compromised. These machines become lifesavers in ensuring the continuity of essential services, maintaining communication channels, and powering medical facilities. Due to their critical importance, FEMA, under the executive authority conferred by Executive Order 10,997, holds the power to requisition fuel and generator sources during emergencies. This mandates that in a crisis, FEMA can lawfully take control of privately owned generators to support emergency response and recovery efforts. FEMA's ability to detect and locate generators, even from a distance, significantly bolsters their efficacy in emergency management. Generators can be identified through various methods, including the noise they produce, thermal signatures, or other advanced detection techniques. This capability ensures that the agency can swiftly locate and appropriate these power sources to avert outages and maintain operational infrastructures. During widespread power outages, the demand for generators skyrockets, and FEMA's priority is to allocate these resources where they are most needed, such as hospitals, shelters, and command centers. Disaster recovery often necessitates the establishment of camps or shelters for displaced citizens. In these camps, the stable and reliable power supply is non-negotiable, directly impacting the functionality of critical infrastructure, medical services, and communication networks. FEMA's strategy involves the appropriation of generators to guarantee that these temporary facilities remain operational, safe, and habitable. Having a steady power supply helps avert secondary disasters, such as the failure of medical equipment, loss of communication capabilities, and the general deterioration of living conditions. The exigency to seize generators during crises underscores their indispensable nature in modern emergency management. While the seizure of privately owned equipment may seem drastic, it is a measure taken to ensure the safety and well-being of the broader community. The strategic deployment of these generators by FEMA ultimately aims to stabilize critical infrastructures, safeguard public health, and restore normalcy in the aftermath of disaster scenarios. 5. Weapons. In times of crisis, the seizure of weapons by federal agencies, particularly the Federal Emergency Management Agency, remains a contentious issue. Events like the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans and the Boston Marathon bombing have highlighted instances where authorities have confiscated firearms to maintain public safety and order. These incidents underscore the delicate balance between safeguarding individual rights and ensuring the collective security of the community. During significant emergencies, FEMA is tasked with the formidable responsibility of restoring order and protecting citizens. In such chaotic environments, the presence of weapons can escalate an already volatile situation. To mitigate potential misuse or acts of violence, FEMA may find it necessary to disarm individuals temporarily. This preventative measure aims to reduce the risk of harm to both the public and emergency responders. However, the decision to seize weapons is fraught with legal and ethical complications. Central to the debate is the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution, which guarantees the right to bear arms. Any attempt by FEMA to confiscate firearms must navigate the constitutional protections afforded to citizens. This creates a significant legal hurdle, as suspending or restricting these rights in the name of public safety can provoke strong resistance from those who view gun ownership as a fundamental freedom. The tension between upholding constitutional rights and addressing the need for effective crisis management is a major challenge for FEMA. Supporters of weapons seizure during emergencies often argue that such measures are crucial for the greater public good. They believe that temporarily suspending certain rights can be justified if it enhances the overall safety and efficacy of emergency response efforts. On the other hand, critics argue that disarming the public can leave individuals vulnerable and erode the trust between citizens and government authorities. They contend that people have a right to defend themselves, especially during times of instability and uncertainty. Ultimately, the issue of weapons seizure during crises is multifaceted and deeply complex. FEMA must carefully consider the legal ramifications, public sentiment, and the overarching goal of maintaining order while protecting individual freedom. The agency's actions during emergencies are scrutinized as they set precedents for future response. 6. Medical supplies. During a crisis, medical supplies are one of the primary targets for seizure by FEMA. The procurement of medical equipment and medicines becomes a top priority for emergency management agencies as they need to ensure the distribution of these crucial resources to the most affected and vulnerable populations. This effort often leads to the confiscation of essential medical items from private stockpiles, particularly if they are considered necessary for the well-being of the public at large. One significant risk associated with medical supplies during a crisis is their higher vulnerability to seizure as compared to other resources such as food. Unlike food supplies, which FEMA must leave enough to sustain individuals and families, medical supplies do not necessarily fall under the same protection. The rationale is that in an emergency, the collective need for medical resources outweighs individual preparedness efforts. Consequently, even well-intentioned individuals who have meticulously prepared their medical stockpiles could find themselves facing unexpected confiscation. Furthermore, FEMA's assessment process can often lead to the seizure of these supplies based on public health evaluations. If an individual or family is deemed healthy, the necessity for their medical preparations may be questioned, thereby justifying the seizure of their medical supplies. This practice is rooted in the principle of resource reallocation, where the goal is to maximize the effective use of limited medical resources across as many affected people as possible. Such assessments, however, can be subjective and may not always align with the private preparer's view of their own health and future needs. In a crisis, the likelihood of medical supplies being seized is considerably higher compared to other essentials. This stems from the urgent and often acute need for medical assistance in disaster-stricken areas. When food supplies are taken, FEMA is bound by regulations to leave enough provisions for basic sustenance. Unfortunately, the same protective measures do not necessarily apply to medical supplies. This disparity places them at greater risk of being appropriated by authorities who must prioritize immediate public health needs. In these considerations, it is crucial for individuals and families to understand the potential risks involved in stockpiling medical supplies. While preparations are still important, awareness of FEMA's protocols during a crisis can help preparers make informed decisions and possibly explore alternative ways to secure their medical resources without the heightened risk of confiscation. I-7 bottled water. In the event of a crisis, bottled water becomes an invaluable resource, and its importance cannot be overstated. Having a well-stocked supply of bottled water ensures that your family will have access to clean and safe drinking water when public systems fail. Disasters such as hurricanes, earthquakes, or large-scale power outages can compromise municipal water supplies, making stored water vital for survival. The general recommendation is to store at least 1 gallon of water per day for a minimum of 3 days. This quantity covers not only drinking needs, but also essential sanitation and hygiene practices. Your comprehensive water storage plan also involves understanding and implementing water filtration methods. In scenarios where stored water runs out, knowledge of filtration techniques becomes a lifeline. Portable water filters, purification tablets, and boiling are some of the ways to purify natural sources of water, such as rainfall, rivers, or lake. Learning these skills before an emergency occurs can significantly increase your preparedness and enhance your ability to maintain a clean water supply. Recognizing the risks associated with public water systems further underscores the necessity of bottled water storage. During a disaster, these systems might become contaminated or entirely unavailable. Having bottled water readily available eliminates the uncertainty of waiting for relief services and allows you to maintain control over your family's hydration and health. Another critical factor to consider is the potential seizure of water supplies by FEMA or other government agencies during a crisis. While these organizations aim to redistribute resources to those in need, this could leave your family in a precarious situation if your entire supply is confiscated. Therefore, it is wise to keep a portion of your water reserve discreetly hidden to ensure that your immediate needs are always met. This level of personal preparedness mitigates the frustration and potential danger of relying solely on public distribution systems. In conclusion, preparing for a crisis requires a comprehensive strategy that addresses various essential needs, from safeguarding medical supplies to ensuring an adequate water supply. Understanding FEMA's protocols and the potential risks involved in stockpiling can help you make more informed decisions and better protect your resources during emergencies. By implementing these preparedness measures, you can enhance your family's resilience and maintain a higher level of control over your well-being in the face of unexpected disasters. What are some strategies you use to prepare for emergencies? We'd love to hear your thoughts and tips in the comments below. If you found this information helpful, please like the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more valuable content on emergency preparedness and survival strategies. Stay safe and prepared.